Every single penny of that $43 million contract that Brent Venables signed, whatever it is now, they may have extended it out $7 million a year, something along those lines. Brent Venables is going to earn every single penny of that in 2024 as Oklahoma enters into the SEC, and we could not be more pumped about it here at SEC Unfiltered. Make no mistake about it, the Oklahoma Sooners are one of the most historic college football programs ever. People overlook them a little bit, I think, with the recent success of Texas and things like that. But Oklahoma is an iconic brand that is coming into this league, and a brand and also a program that will fare just fine in the SEC. Some people saying, oh, Oklahoma, Texas. I would be honestly more worried about Texas than I would Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is going to assimilate just fine. They're going to be a blue collar program under Brent Venables, and I think they're going to come into this league and fit right in. Now, it may take just a little bit to get maybe one more year or so to get exactly the roster mix and the acquisition of talent that Brent Venables wants. But I'm excited to go through this roster. I'm excited to go through this schedule today here for Oklahoma. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Game one, Temple shouldn't be any problem here. Get all of Jackson Arnold's early season jitters out. Get him some nice throws out there to Andrell Anthony coming off of a knee injury, Nick Anderson, Deion Burks, all the weapons that he has. Get that going, get that offense putting some points on the board, defense flying around with Stutzman and Kanak and Bowman and all these guys over there. I think it could be just a nice opening day. SEC Unfiltered difficulty rating of about a 2.5. Nothing really to worry about there with Temple in the beginning of the 2024 season. Then you bring in Houston, a little bit more difficulty there. Okay, Houston, a Big 12 program that is going to come in and they're going to have athleticism. They're going to have playmakers, and you just don't want to sleepwalk in that game early. You got to come out and you got to be able to be more physical than them along the lines of scrimmage. Houston, what they want to be able to do is be explosive in the passing game. We've seen this out of Willie Fritz teams. Yes, Willie Fritz, who was the head coach at Tulane under their resurgence, now comes to Houston. So that, they're going to be well coached, but hey, in order to be explosive in the passing game, a lot of times you need to set it up in the run game and be effective there. They're going to play sound defense, because that's what Willie Fritz's background is defense and special teams. So just a game that you don't want to come out and sleepwalk early. Do get the benefit of that one being in Norman. So I'm going to give this one a difficulty rating of about a 5.5. Okay, a game that you don't want to flub, but you also understand that, hey, you're facing a good opponent here, and just kind of come out and execute right off the bat. Same thing with Tulane. With Willie Fritz gone, I'm not sure that this is going to be the same Tulane program we've seen the last couple of years. They'll have to go through a transition period, things of that nature. So I'm only going to give this one a SEC Unfiltered difficulty rating of about a 4.5. I think that as long as there's no residual left over from what's probably going to be a physical game with Houston, depending on what the injury situation is, things of that nature, it is a game that OU should win early. So I think you're looking at a deal where if OU comes out, takes care of business, they're the more talented team, they're the deeper team in all of these first three games. And also, these are great resume builders. Okay, these are good wins, not just a cupcakes that they're stacking up. These are teams that have some respect around the country, and the College Football Playoff Committee, I think, we'll see that. Remember, there's 12 teams that get into the playoff now, so each one of these data points means a little bit more, as there's going to be more teams considered for the College Football Playoff. So 2 good wins there if you can go out and get them against Houston and Tulane before you get into SEC play. And you do on September 21st welcome in Tennessee. You talk about iconic brands in football. You see that OU on Oklahoma's helmet, and that T, the power T over there on Tennessee's helmet. That is just beautiful if you're a college football fan. you get to see something that you don't normally see a lot. You get to see, these new matchups here in the SEC. I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of heartburn when it comes to expansion, not only the playoffs, but of conferences, of things like that, losing tradition, all this kind of stuff. But man, I could not tell you how much more excited I could possibly be to see Nico Iamaleava and also see Jackson Arnold, two talented blue chip quarterbacks that are getting their chance to break through this year, get to take on each other in Norman, Oklahoma. So you start off the year with 4 home games. Can you start off SEC play, the first ever Oklahoma Sooner football game in SEC history against the Tennessee Volunteers? I think that is a game that, with it being at home for Oklahoma, I really like what the Sooners can do. Now, like I said, it's going to be a deal where Brent Venables and company, even coming from the Big 12, they will not have seen anything like the tempo, the spacing, all this kind of stuff that Tennessee is going to throw at them. You can't simulate it, okay? You just can't. Houston may have some elements of that when they play them a little bit earlier in the year, so that helps out. But I'm telling you, it may take a quarter, and a half. Tennessee has a habit of doing that, going out and punching people in the nose early when it comes to their style of play offensively. But I think you'll see Oklahoma settle in. So it's going to be an intriguing matchup there. Can they get off to a 1-0 start in SEC play and really just start to pin that chapter in history as an SEC football team? Game 5, first SEC road game. So a lot of firsts here that we're seeing for Oklahoma in this 2024 season. And that's the beautiful thing about this year coming up. It's going to be so different for all these teams. Physical contest. When you go in to Jordan-Hare Stadium, it is a different world, a different experience. This will be a true test for Jackson Arnold. He will not have played in a hostile environment like this. We saw Carson Beck in his first start for Georgia, and we know how good Carson Beck was for Georgia last year and was more experienced overall than Jackson Arnold. He went into Jordan-Hare Stadium, and that Georgia team had some issues, okay? We saw Alabama have some issues last year. So it doesn't matter where Auburn is as a program. I think they're still building and growing under Hugh Freeze. That's a better pack your lunch type game when you go and face Auburn. So that's big boy SEC football going on the road to Auburn. And Oklahoma fans will learn that on September 28th when they get to go down there and take on the Auburn Tigers. Listen, a winnable game still. I very much believe that, but it's going to take not just execution. It's going to take physicality from Stutzman and Kanak and all the guys up front, that front 7 on defense. They're going to have to stop Auburn's run because Hugh Freeze is creative with how he finds ways to run the football. And then they're going to have poise on the offensive side with Jackson Arnold leading that side of the ball. Offensive line can't have false start penalty. That place is going to be loud. So Oklahoma will get tested on the road in game 5. Game 6, it's Texas. It's the Red River Rivalry, okay? When you come out there and you take on Texas and Oklahoma, they have bragging rights from last year, does Oklahoma, and it doesn't matter what the records are. I know that's a cliche, but it just doesn't. It's just like when Alabama and Auburn play. It does not matter what you've done the week before. It doesn't matter what you're going to do afterwards. You go to the state fair and you have to take on a team that you absolutely hate. And now, once again, you're in the same conference just like you were in the Big 12. Now, this is going to have implications on the SEC championship game. Likely, it's going to have implications on the college football playoff. So it's going to be so exciting on October 12th with the Texas State Fair, Dallas, all that kind of good stuff. And Texas coming off a college football playoff run. I think Texas is going to take a little step back this year. I think this is another opportunity for Oklahoma to say, hey, we beat you last year. You did end up having a good year, go to the playoffs, but we're still gonna have the leg up on you this year. So excited for that matchup. South Carolina. Boy, am I looking forward to this. Because at this point in the year, Shane Beamer will be making all kinds of excuses for South Carolina. He'll be blaming the referees, all this kind of stuff. But hey, on the bright side, Shane, maybe you can go out to Oklahoma. You can go out to Norman. maybe they've got a backup quarterback that's going to be a really good player, probably a pro player one day that you can take back to your program, and you can, maybe use him to barely get to a bowl game. Because I have zero belief when it comes to the South Carolina program right now. I don't believe in the direction it's going. I don't believe the leadership over there. And I think Oklahoma should win this game easily on October 19th, especially being at home. I just don't see the people want to talk about culture and toughness and all this kind of stuff. I don't see it. I don't see the true measure of greatness is consistency. And the only consistency that South Carolina has is being a mediocre football team at best. And that's when their offensive line isn't getting run through like Swiss cheese. So Oklahoma going to win that football game, in my opinion. Now, just like we talked about big boy football, this is another big boy football game. Like we said, going on the road to Auburn, you got to go on the road to Vaught-Hemingway Stadium and take on Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, some of the biggest collection of talent in the entire country. This is going to be a tremendous matchup, a tremendous test for Brent Venables' team, an explosive offense that Lane Kiffin will sport. This is a game that I could see Oklahoma dropping, because I think Ole Miss is one of the best teams in the country. It's going to take a great effort, but the good thing is a road loss to Ole Miss, especially if you haven't lost any of those other ones leading into it, doesn't kill you, doesn't drop you out of the college football playoff by any means. And if it's a close game, actually, it kind of boosts your resume. Hey, they went into take on what I think is going to be a top 10 team in the country and almost beat them at their place, things like that. I think that would be a tremendous deal to kind of add to your resume there, because everybody, I think, is going to have losses they're going to point to, but it's the varying degrees of those losses. So we'll see. Not saying they can't win the game, but it's going to be very hard to win all of them, and particularly in this SEC this year. So we'll see by Oklahoma game 8 away, Ole Miss. The Maine Bears, I couldn't even find a clear logo for the Maine Bears on this. Okay, so that's how low a difficulty this one is. Can't even find clear graphics for Maine over there. A difficulty rating of about 1.5. Okay, nothing big here for Oklahoma. Nice little let up after a tough game on the road at Ole Miss. Game 10, back at it, baby. I mean, here from week 8 to week 12, there are some brutal road games for Oklahoma, and Missouri is one of them. This is a program on the rise. Mizzou, Eli Drinkwitz, they have money coming into that program. There's investment going into that program of what they want that program to be. They're recruiting at a high level. They're developing players at a high level. They have a good offensive coordinator in Kirby Moore. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I'm telling you, if this is a measuring stick to see, hey, what kind of tier do you fall into as Oklahoma in the SEC on the road? Weird things happen in Como. I'm just telling you, Columbia, Missouri, weird things happen. So Oklahoma, how do you measure up with the Tigers? Then you get a bye week, and then right before Thanksgiving, you get to take on, or maybe right after, I'm not sure when Thanksgiving falls this year, you get to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Turn me up right now for this matchup. We talked about an iconic, brand matchup when it was Tennessee and Oklahoma. My goodness, I'm excited to see Alabama and Oklahoma take on each other, just from an optic standpoint, just from a tradition and a history standpoint. And then you get to welcome in, for the first time you play them as an SEC team, into your place. If you're Oklahoma, that stadium ought to be an absolute zoo. It should be going crazy with Alabama coming in there, particularly with weather. I think Oklahoma, maybe at maximum, you're talking about 1 or 2 losses at this point. A lot to play for, in my opinion. I think you go out there and you take on a Crimson Tide team that I think will have had some tests and probably have a couple losses of their own at this point. So I think this is a winnable game. I think this is something that Oklahoma can really put their stamp and saying, hey, we have arrived. We are here in the SEC, and we're going to be a problem. So Brent Venables and company, a huge game, home game, November 23rd. And then it doesn't get any easier, guys, because I mentioned week 8 to week 12, those tough road games at Ole Miss in week 8, at Mizzou in week 10, and at LSU in week 12. Listen, it's a different deal when you go down there to Baton Rouge. They got those liquored up Cajuns that are ready to go. And it is a different night environment. Again, you're going to love to see the crimson and cream there of Oklahoma, so to speak, versus the purple and gold of LSU. Just another great uniform uniform matchup, stuff like that. It'll be senior day for LSU, so a lot of energy and excitement over there. They always have a big game on senior day, it seems like. So listen, I'm excited for this Oklahoma schedule. This is a really tough one. I think when you look at this and you look at this schedule, LSU on the road, Mizzou on the road, Ole Miss on the road. Those are tough games. Of course, Texas is always a toss up there, and welcoming Tennessee at home in that first SEC game. I think to have the year you really want to have, you can't afford to drop any of those non-conference games, right? You got to beat Tennessee at home, and I think you got to beat Auburn on the road. If you could start off 5-0, then the rest of the way, I think you give yourself some grace to lose one, maybe two games and have opportunity to make the college football playoff. Let us know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and we'll catch you guys next time right here on SEC Unfiltered, the best SEC entity on the internet. God bless you guys, and we'll catch you next time.